Imagine a conscious contact with God so strong that no matter what you are doing or not doing, that no matter what your kids are up to or not up to, and that whether you've got the person of your dreams or they're just not cooperating, that you are happy, content, and at peace. A space where everyone else's thoughts, attitudes, and actions are beautiful and exactly as they are supposed to be. Well, this is the space where I like to play. My name is Misha Z, and this is today's Bitch Slap. Join me as I shed light on the thoughts, actions, and attitudes that are causing you pain, and we train our minds to go to the capital S inner self, the joy that is waiting for us, the God within. Both speakers today that I interviewed were commenting on the Zoom and recording in process. Perhaps I'll edit that out. I just thought I'd tell you about today. I did a little walk this morning when I was talking to my friend Bill O. And as I got down to Swami's Beach, a couple of hippies looked up and said, "Anyone ever tell you you look like Robert Plant?" Oh my God. It was the best morning ever. I love that. I loved Led Zeppelin in my youth. They were just a hair before my time. So I was a teen in the 80s. So yeah, I was born in 68. So I was 12 in 1980 and then really found Zeppelin in like 82, 3, 4, 5, just all in on the Zepp. I love the Who and I love the Stones actually as well. And I think a lot of people are pick one of those, but I loved them all. I also loved a little Van Halen, David Lee Roth Van Halen. Sabbath with OZZy. And who was the guy that actually Sabbath was pretty good with post OZZy, but I can't remember what dude's name was. There was a couple of them. Dio was great. I think Ronnie James Dio sang for the Sabbath for a bit. How did I end up talking about rock bands of the 80s and 70s? Well, really, those are bands of the 70s. I did like a little bit some of the Hagar, some of the Van Hagar. Not enough to actually buy any of their records, but I did not change the channel to the radio. When we used to listen to radios back in the day, any young listeners, we did indeed have these things called radios. I literally know people who do not know who Robert Plant is. That's right. Did I tell you I was walking with a friend, Molly Wood? Her last name is Wood. I just love their parents named their daughter Molly Wood. And Molly's amazing. Actually, turns out she's going to speak on the summit, the Tools for a Good Life Summit. So Molly Wood, she said, "Do you know who you look like with that hair?" Because I was wearing a beanie and it was sort of falling out of the beanie. Owen Wilson when he had his long curly blonde hair. And actually, Owen Wilson is on Loki right now. He's definitely aged a little bit. Owen's shown his age a little bit. I'll tell you another story. Back in the 90s, 95, 6, 7, when I lived in the Lower Haight in San Francisco, I had this roommate. I moved in with this roommate named Andrea. And actually there was 3 women there. Andrea, I can't remember the other girl, and Dawn, my to-be ex-wife. Sorry, Dawn, I didn't mean to call you my ex-wife, but anyway, it's where I fell in love with Dawn in this apartment. But Andrea dated or had a fling or was hanging out with Owen Wilson back before he was famous. When Owen Wilson was in his first movie, I believe it was called Bottle Rocket. But Andrea was all proud of it. She's like, "Oh yeah, I used to kick it with this guy named Owen Wilson who was in this movie Bottle Rocket, this indie movie." At the time, was not very, I was a little impressed, but I wasn't like super impressed. I didn't really care. I don't know how I've started going down this path. Um, there was the Metallica years. That was short lived though. When Master of Puppets came out, not that. I liked Ride the Lightning and Kill 'Em All. Those were my two teen year drug addled youth metal band records that I loved. Those two for sure. Who else except Balls to the Wall? There's no way I'm publishing this episode. There's no way. You got your balls to the wall, man. Who else was there? I don't know. I can't even think. Um I really don't know what else I can talk about. I can't start talking about what I was going to talk about. Let me think if I let me Kiss was were the first bands that I the first record I think I ever bought was Wild Cherry, Play That Funky Music. I believe that was the first record. Do you remember what was that record club called back in the day? Not Random House. It was I can't remember what it was called, but we would constantly get in trouble because we'd order the 10 albums for a penny, and then I mean it was 9. So I probably owe them some money. I'll I won't cop to it. Um anyway, Wild Cherry, the Star Wars album. Yep, played that Star Wars album. My poor father. Star Wars album with the cantina. Electric Light Orchestra. Loved some ELO. Man, I loved Electric Light Orchestra. Boston. My brother, a few years older than me. I went through Boston phase with the rest of the high schoolers when I was pre-high school. Um, what else can I talk about musically? I did love some Kiss, Kiss Destroyer. I had all the Kiss stuff. I was all in on Kiss at a young age. Destroyer was right there with one of the first records too, as well. Dress to Kill. I know something about the album cover of Dress to Kill. It's funny. It's haunting and it's amazing. I was, for whatever reason, went to Kiss on Spotify and saw the old Dressed to Kill cover. And it still had that same allure, that same pull. Check it out. It's awesome. I don't know what it is about it. Dressed to Kill. What else did I like back then? When I hit high school, had some buddies who were into Styx, so I definitely got into Styx, some Renegade. My one buddy was all in on Styx. I had a buddy that was all in on Kansas as well. I was not a Kansas fan. I was a late bloomer AC/DC Bon Scott fan. Um, Initially, I'll be honest with you, Van Halen, first few times I heard him with David Lee Roth howling. I was like, this band sucks. David Lee Roth, that dude can't sing. You do enough drugs and drink enough beer, Van Halen sounds amazing. I think I thought the same thing about Bon Scott and AC/DC. Want everybody to know, as I've said many times before on this podcast, I fell into recovery back when I was 17 years old, 17 years and 9 months old, last day of treatment, or last day of high school, on a plane to treatment. And I have been sober one day at a time ever since. So I can fondly talk about my drug addled youth and laugh about it. What a shit show it was. All right, I'll tell you one tale, which I probably have told before on a different podcast episode, but I believe it was my junior year. I had to I had gotten a DUI in Idaho. This is all sealed, by the way. I believe they burn that stuff when you're under 18, but I'd gotten a DUI in Idaho Falls, Idaho. I had to, so I did some jail time, short stint in Idaho, a day or two, maybe a day, 2 days. Yeah, I think it was 2 days because I had to find someone to bail me out. That's when I was living in Wyoming. So, a funny story. At the time, I was supposed to be in court in Jackson for some other crime I'd done, but I was in jail in Idaho. So they put a warrant out for my arrest in Jackson, Wyoming. Now you can see why I quit the sauce, as they say. But so Idaho graciously let me do the rest of my jail time in Jackson. So I had to turn myself in. Got out of school one Friday afternoon and had to turn myself in for the weekend to the Jackson Hole jail. Turn myself in, go to jail for the weekend. And some kids, they were given the scare tactics too. You know, some dumbass kids that did some dumbass petty crimes. So they were walking them through the jail to scare them, give them the scare tactic. There I was in my orange jumpsuit behind bars in a jail cell. And one of my speech students, or not one of my speech, one of the kids that was in my speech class was getting paraded through the jail and his jaw dropped. There's Misha, his speech partner, sitting in a jail cell. Oh my gosh. Life is funny. He surprisingly never looked the same at me again in speech class. You know what? I've gone on and on enough. It's not really what I was planning on talking about, but hey, sometimes you got to roll with it. If this hits the airwaves, God bless. Love to all. Thank you for spending time with me today. As someone who is committed to growth and service to this world, I so appreciate your willingness to come with me, go within, and serve our world through change. If you found value in this podcast and you know someone who can use this message, share this episode with them. Share it so our mission can be achieved one episode at a time. And of course, subscribe so you can hear more. And lastly, for more resources on what has helped me on my journey and can help you on yours, go to belove.media/resources. That's BELOVE.media/resources. Thank you again for listening.